Well, that was quick. Less than 2 weeks after suspending the star of Duck Dynasty, A&E backed down, retreated, did a 180, and brought Phil Robertson back to its lucrative franchise, without the inconvenience of having him actually miss a single show. Was this anything other than a network bowing to public pressure? Joining us now is David Zerwick, television and media critic for the Baltimore Sun. So, how does A&E look adjusting this suspension? Let me do the math here. So that it involved 0 days.
I was going to give you, very good. I was going to give you the real days. I had done it in prep.
So how does A&E look?
I think A&E looks horrible. I don't think A&E cares. This is one of these, Howie, after you've covered, if you've covered the media for a long time, you've come to understand that the answer to almost every question is money. This is money, money, and more money. You know what? You think about it, the Robertsons actually have a business making these duck calls. A&E has no business without them. They are their business, so they had the leverage.
It's the most lucrative franchise on the network.
Exactly.
But you say it's only about money, but when Phil Robertson gave that GQ interview and said what he said about gays and African Americans and, making references to bestiality, and then those other comments came out about gays are arrogant God haters.
Yes.
A&E put out a pretty strong statement saying not only was he being put on hiatus, but this was not in accordance with its corporate values, and saying that the network is the champion of the gay and lesbian community. So what happened to those values? I
think this is the difference of somebody from Washington and somebody from Baltimore. I didn't think that was a strong statement. I thought that was a sort of laundered, lawyered PR, best PR you can buy kind of statement. And that's what really made me mad about this when they took him off suspension after with no consequences, when they stressed inclusivity, tolerance, forgiveness, and said, and to show our commitment, we're going to make PSAs.
Right.
You know what you...
Oh, you can't ask for more than that. Now, in the latest statement, A&E says that Phil Robertson and his family regret the coarse language and misinterpretation of his core beliefs. I couldn't find anything that he said in any of his statements or a sermon that he gave a few days later where he invited a reporter where he regretted anything. He has not backed down. Now, look, some people agree with what Phil Robertson said. Some people don't agree with what Phil Robertson said. I thought the language was unnecessarily inflammatory. I didn't think he necessarily needed to be suspended. I think A&E would have been happier had Phil Robertson said he's sorry, but he did not want to say he was sorry.
No, he didn't. And in fact, the family put out a statement last weekend that said, we do not see how we can move forward without the great patriarch. They didn't say great, that's me. Yeah. But that was a shot across the bow to A&E, number one. And then he said in that church last Sunday in Louisiana, I'm not backing down an inch. Well, that's defiance. That's defiance. And, A&E rolled over instantly.
Well, let me circle back to your earlier answer that when you get into one of these slaps, it's all about money. And there is no question there is a lot of money at stake here in merchandise and everything else.
Yes.
And, I guess A&E deserves credit for creating this show. People say, they don't care about the beliefs of Christians. But when you hire Phil Robertson, you probably know that he is a controversial guy who's going to say controversial things. But A&E didn't have to suspend him. They could have just put out a statement saying we deeply deplore and blah, 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 and he's promised not to do it again. So why go there? Kick the guy off the show, at least temporarily. Maybe the network always planned to bring him back in a few weeks. And then just melt like a puddle.
Well, look, in terms of PR, corporate PR, not the best move. I think they were struck...
You're being very understated this morning. Not the best move. It's an idiotic move.
Howie.
I'm usually the one who tries to dial you down.
No, it's absolutely true that I think they were struck by the immediate blowback to his language in GQ and how bad it was when you coupled the statements about African Americans. Howie, look, okay, you know what Zerwick thinks? This is really ignorant talk by this man. This is right up there. You're this far from hate speech from this man.
Okay, but a lot of people also think that he is a Christian who believes in the Bible, and the Bible says homosexuality is a sin. Regardless, A&E took a stand, and then the intensity of the blowback from the show's fans, coupled with the politicians like Sarah Palin and Ted Cruz, piling on, made the network think the franchise must be threatened here, correct?
Oh, absolutely. And they always knew they could suspension. They didn't even call it a suspension, by the way. It was a hiatus. I thought you put shows on hiatus, not the star of your show. That was my first reaction to this. So that's part of it. They could control the suspension, and they wanted to somehow react to what came back at them. You know, also, I think, honestly, A&E is not a stupid. People who run networks are not stupid, even though we like to think so sometimes. They knew this was a larger cultural issue. They knew that people who felt as if same-sex marriage was gaining too fast saw this guy as a champion. And once you got that plugged into this, also it's about masculinity. So this was a big issue. A&E handled it horribly, and I hate that. I hate what they did last Friday.
Well, just wait till to see the ratings when the show comes back. David Zurwick, thanks very much.